Question number 141, students. Knee joint and elbow joint are examples of pivot joint, gliding joint, saddle joint or hinge joint. So if we talk about our knee joint or elbow joint, they allow movement only in one plane. And one of the two articulating bones is deep convex in shape and the other bone is deep concave in shape. And such type of joint which allows movement only in one plane is hinge joint. Option 4 becomes a right answer. Let's discuss the other options. Option number 1, pivot joint. Pivot joint allows movement in one plane and the primary movement at the pivot joint is rotation. One of the bones in a pivot joint is fixed or stationary, whereas the other bones rotates over it. An example of this would be the joint between atlas and axis, or the joint between radius and ulna just below the elbow. Option number 2, gliding joint, students. Gliding joint is simplest of synovial joint and the both ends of the bones are flat or slightly curved so that the bones can glide over each other. The example of a gliding joint would be joint between tarsal and carpals. Whereas option number 3, saddle joint is a kind of ball and socket joint and it allows movement in many directions. One of the articulating bones of saddle joint has convex head or a rounded end which fixes into the saddle-like depression of the other bone. Example of a saddle joint would be between carpals and metacarpal of human thumb. Thus our thumb can move in many directions and is useful to us that way. So the correct answer is option number 4, hinge joint here. Question number 142. Which of the following is the correct description of the given part of human skeleton? Option 1. The 9th and 10th pairs of ribs are called vertebrosternal ribs. First vertebra is atlas, which articulates with the occipital condyles. Each pectoral girdle comprises one clavicle and one scapula. The number of sacral vertebrae is 5 in both adults and fetus. Let's go over the options one by one, students. The first 7 pairs of ribs are called as true ribs. They are dorsally attached to the thoracic vertebrae and are ventrally connected to sternum. And these are called as vertebrosternal ribs. Whereas if you see 8th, 9th and 10th pair do not directly articulate with the sternum, they join the 7th pair of ribs and are hence called false ribs or vertebrochondral ribs. Whereas 11th and 12th pair are called floating ribs because one end of the rib is attached to the vertebral column and the other end is free. And these ribs protect our kidneys. So the first option that the 9th and 10th pairs of ribs are called vertebrosternal is wrong because they are called vertebrochondral, which is incorrect. Option number 2 reads, first vertebra is atlas, which articulates with the occipital condyles. This is true, students. The occipitocervical joint is formed when the occipital condyles articulate with the superior facets of first cervical vertebrae, or that is atlas. So this is right. Option 3, each pectoral girdle comprises one clavicle and one scapula. This is incorrect because each half of pectoral girdle comprises one clavicle and one scapula. So this is incorrect. Option number 4, the number of sacral vertebrae is 5 in both adults and fetus. Again, the number of sacral vertebrae changes from 5 in the fetal stage to 1 in the adult stage, which makes it incorrect. The only right statement here is option number 2, which makes it our answer. Question number 144. Select the activity which would essentially involve movement but not result in locomotion: walking, climbing, talking or swimming. Let's understand the difference between movement and locomotion. Locomotion always necessarily results in displacement, meaning there would be change of position from one place to the other, whereas movement does not necessarily have to involve displacement, that is movement from one place to another. So when a person is climbing, swimming or walking, there is always a displacement or change of position, so that would come in locomotion. Whereas option number 3, talking involves movement of muscles, but the person does not necessarily have to move from one place to the other. So talking would not result in locomotion, which makes it our right answer here, option number 3. Question number 145. Choose the incorrect match. Malleus incus stapes, ear ossicles. Lacrimal bone, nasal bone, maxilla paired bones. Humerus, radius, ulna bones of forelimb. Muscular dystrophy disorder of skeletal system. We're looking for an incorrect match here. Option number 1 is about ear ossicles. Our middle ear has malleus, incus and stapes. They help in amplification of sound. So this is a correct match. Option number 2, lacrimal bone, nasal bone and maxilla. These are paired bones. That is also right. Each of these bones have a right half and a left half. Option number 3, humerus. This is a single long bone of the upper arm, and radius and ulna are present at the lower arm. So this is also correct. Option number 4, muscular dystrophy disorder of skeletal system. This is incorrect. Why? Because muscular dystrophy affects the muscles. So this becomes a disorder of muscular system, not skeletal system per se. So the right answer or an incorrect match here is option number 4.